Let's talk frankly here. The oceans of the world are massive. It does cover 70% of our world, and not just on the surface, but under it as well. Between the 7 oceans, there's so much water and depth that if you actually deconstructed the entire world's landmass and put it into all the oceans evenly, there would still be enough ocean to go 2 miles deep. And that's just an estimate. There's probably even more water down there than we realize, as you'll understand. Let's start with a human. A human on top of the ocean is quite literally a speck. And even if you were to put a large animal beside it like an elephant or a giraffe, that speck wouldn't be much larger as the ocean is that vast and deep. Furthermore, despite our technology, there are limits to what we can do within the ocean itself. For example, if you love scuba diving, you'll know that there are limits to what you can do. Sure, some gear is better suited for diving than others and can thus allow deeper dives, but the average for recreational diving is only about 120 feet, which compared to the size and scale of the ocean is paltry at best. Furthermore, with shipwrecks like the Lusitania, you'll find that the bottom of the ocean isn't as consistent as one might think. The Lusitania, for example, was over 700 feet long, yet it was found in waters that were only about 300 feet deep. So if there was something down there to cause it to fall unevenly, it would actually be sticking out of the water, which would have made it easier to find actually. But again, even 300 feet deep isn't even close to what the oceans have to offer. They go so much deeper than that. Not that you should do this on your own, for if you dare to go beyond 300 feet into the oceans with standard or even above standard fishing gear, you'll find yourself struggling in those depths because of the decompression sickness. That being said, the world record for free diving is actually just over 700 feet into the depths, which is very impressive, not to mention very dangerous. And that diver, Herbert Ditch, is very lucky to have made it not just down there, but back alive. Especially since he did this in one breath. As for the scuba diving world record, that one belongs to Ahmed Gabr, who went an incredible 1,089 feet below the ocean's depths. Both of these are truly incredible and true feats of humanity pushing the bounds of what they can do. And yet, that's still only a mere fraction of what the ocean can be in terms of its depths. In context, the average depth of the ocean is estimated to be around 12,000 feet from surface to bottom, which means that Ahmed Gabr didn't even reach 1/12 of the ocean's depth. And it is not just people who struggle to go that low. Certain sea animals can't do it either. For example, the blue whale, the biggest whale on Earth, can only go a little over 1,600 feet. And United States submarines can only match what the blue whales can do. Or going any deeper can result in the ocean's natural pressure crushing said submarine like a tin can. Which just goes to show that whether it be man, machine, or beast, the ocean depths are not for everyone. And that leads us to the Mariana Trench, which in many ways is the deepest part of the ocean that we know about. This is mainly because the trench is 36,000 feet below sea level. It's so deep that if you don't have a specially made craft, the pressure of the ocean would crush you in an instant. Furthermore, because of how deep it is, there is no light from the sun or sky that reaches down there, so thus the only lights you'll have are the ones on your ship. Fun fact, only 4 humans in history have ever been able to go to the Mariana Trench. The first 2 were in 1960. Swiss oceanographer Jacques Picard and USN Lieutenant Don Walsh went down in a special submarine and are in fact the 2 humans to go the deepest into the ocean. However, they only lasted about 20 minutes before their submarine had to be surfaced because of the pressure of the ocean. The other came 52 years later in the form of the one and only James Cameron, who went down in a single-man pod and stayed there for quite some time before surfacing back up. Then in 2019, American Victor Vescovo took a sub that actually hit the very bottom of the trench and stayed there for 4 hours. While their accomplishments are noteworthy in every way, it goes to show that while they've been to the bottom of the trench or close to it, they don't really know everything that's down there. Until we get a craft down there that can be there for extended periods, there's no way of knowing all that resides with the Mariana Trench. What's more, there are some who believe that there are places nearby that are even deeper than the trench, though this has not been definitively proven. But let's get to the heart of the matter. What have scientists seen within the Mariana Trench? What signs of life or other things have been encountered or viewed down there? Well, honestly, that's a bit of a tricky question. Because of the longest period of time, or at the very least since we knew about the Mariana Trench, we didn't believe that there was anything down there. And while we did have 2 people go and reach the trench in 1960, they didn't have the tools necessary to truly explore it, nor the time, as we mentioned. However, James Cameron's adventure allowed scientists to get a more notion of what was down there, and it's a lot more than you would expect. First and foremost, he found loads of microorganisms and even microbial mats. Furthermore, there were plenty of bacteria that were more than happy to live in the lightless and cold waters of the trench. Given how life works on Earth, that shouldn't be too much of a surprise. But the more that Cameron looked around, and the other expeditions both manned and unmanned, the more that he found, including bigger things. Before we talk about said bigger things, be sure to like the video and subscribe to the channel. That way you don't miss any of our weekly videos. So, what other things have lived or do live in the Mariana Trench? Well, we'll never fully know the extent of things that Cameron and others found because scientists aren't willing to show all that they found. But some things have been released. For example, they did confirm that they see massive clams and unique jellyfish within the Mariana Trench. This is impressive because anything, hard-shelled or soft-bodied, would be under enormous pressure from the waters themselves. So to survive, there means that they've adapted to the waters. However, Cameron's and others' expeditions also show that there are more mysterious creatures down there that they don't know how to explain. One example was a fish that was discovered on the way to the bottom of the trench that looked like no fish ever seen before, and at one point, a metallic-shaped entity appeared on sensors during descent and actually cut out contact with the craft. When the craft returned contact, the entity was gone. Going back to the jellyfish, the one that they found within the trench was unlike anything they had ever seen before. It had an alien-like body and it glowed red and yellow. The glowing can be attributed to bioluminescence, for as noted, there is no light down in the Mariana Trench via the sun, so many aquatic species actually glow in order to make sure they can see and avoid predators at times. Heading now to the more basic of creatures, there are a series of crustaceans that are like shrimp on the floor of the Mariana Trench that are both familiar but still atypical. How are these atypical? That would be because of their size. You see, up on the surface, shrimp only get to a certain size, but on the floor of the trench, they apparently were over 1 foot in size. Could you imagine if Red Lobster got a hold of them? There are also some terrors that have been documented within the trench, such as the goblin shark, the anglerfish, the barrel-eye fish, the hatchetfish, and much, much more. How about a giant toxic amoeba, or a small octopus called the Dumbo octopus that is one of the deadliest of its species? Or the frilled shark, which is a remnant from the age of dinosaurs. Yeah, that lives in the trench as well. But along the lines of the frilled shark, there are rumors and beliefs as to what else could be down there. Many are wondering if there is something even deadlier lying within the trench waiting to be found or awakened. We speak, of course, of the Megalodon. For those who don't know, the Megalodon was the apex predator of the ancient world. It lived about 23 million plus years ago, and through it came a harrowing look at the feeding frenzy that was the ancient world. This wasn't just an ancient shark. It was a 60-foot multi-ton behemoth that would eat just about anything in sight. It was so aggressive and huge that it needed to eat 1 to 2 tons of food a day just to survive. And because of its powerful teeth, few, if any, creatures could actually harm it outside of other megalodons. If you're wondering, was this creature really real? The answer is yes. We have plenty of bones, jaws, and tons of teeth from megalodons that have died and fossilized. Although, ironically, when the megalodon teeth were first discovered, they were so big, almost a foot at times, that they were felt to be rocks instead of teeth. Irony. Anyway, a series of events led to the megalodons dying out, not the least of which was massive extinction events on Earth leading to a lesser amount of food to eat. This turned the megalodons into cannibals, and their numbers plummeted after that. However, with the finds of the frilled fish and the coelacanth, we know the ancient creatures have survived the time of the dinosaurs and beyond. And many rumors have claimed that the Megalodon could be out there somewhere, including in the depths of the Mariana Trench where no one would find it unless they went down there. So, could it be down there? Objectively speaking, yes, it could. As we've already outlined, there are plenty of species of animals in the Mariana Trench, from single and multi-celled organisms to fish to octopuses, invertebrates, crustaceans, and more, all of whom had to adapt to the harsh conditions and pressures of the trench in order to survive. So naturally, if the Megalodon was still alive, it too would have to adapt to the trench, its pressures, its temperatures, and its lack of light. It would be difficult, but not impossible. To that end, what the Megalodon looks like now if it was in the trench would likely be different than how it was back in ancient times. The biggest problem that it would have in surviving down there is that while there are tons of life down there in the trench, they're usually very small creatures. Recall that we noted that the Megalodon had to eat about 1 to 2 tons of food a day in order to survive? While you could get that amount from eating the species in the trench, it would be a lot of eating. In the ancient world, the Megalodon would eat massive whales, dolphins, and other sea creatures that have a lot of girth, a lot of food for very little hunting. But here, in the trench, it would be the opposite. It would be a case of a lot of effort to get a little of food. Again, not impossible, but it would be a challenge, especially for the earliest versions of the shark. In truth, until we officially see one out there in the trench or the water surrounding them, we'll never truly know if the Megalodon is alive. Sure, we can guess it's not based on certain facts and figures, but we've been wrong before about species being extinct. And that brings us to the final bit about the Mariana Trench. Despite us having gone down there via manned and unmanned probes and craft, there still is a lot that we don't know about the trench. Because it's dark, a very up-close and personal method must be used in order to help us look for everything and document everything. And the pressures of the waters make it so nothing but the most equipped craft can go down there, and even then, it's only for short periods of time. We already know for certain that there are creatures within the Mariana Trench that don't live anywhere else in the world. That's a fact. But how many more of these unknown creatures are down there? It would be foolish to hazard a guess. And that's why there are so many people who are aiming to go down to the trench and learn more about it. Because the more we dive down there, the more we will be able to find what lies beneath the waves. And when we discover the full extent of life down there, it'll open a whole new world of discovery. Creatures that live in the Mariana Trench that are scarier than the Megalodon. Number 9. Anglerfish. When it comes to the Mariana Trench, despite its mystery and wonder, there are a few species that are known to the world at large. One such species is the anglerfish. This creature is a hunter and killer like few others, and it tricks its opponents to come to it. Ironically enough, the anglerfish is actually called the sea devil by some, which is appropriate because its face and body definitely remind you of a demon. Its teeth are huge and sharp, and the eyes alone are enough to scare any who see it. And yet, when you think of the anglerfish, you think of the lure that it has on its head. This unique evolution is actually a protrusion that was born out of its body. If you're curious, yes, it glows, making it one of the few sources of light down in the Mariana Trench. As it's 36,000 feet below sea level, thus light can't reach it. It'll turn the light on just enough to illuminate the area without revealing itself. It's got a few inches to do so thanks to the length of the protrusion. As the light shines, fish will slowly approach, curious about the light and its source. And while they're distracted by it, the anglerfish will get closer and closer with its mouth and then eat the fish while they're looking at the lure. A very interesting thing to know, though, about this creature is that 90% of the time, the anglerfish you'll see are females, as they can grow to be 8 inches long. In contrast, the males are only about an inch. If you're curious how that allows them to breed, it's actually kind of creepy in that they fuse together in order to breed, not unlike a parasite. And if you're curious, yes, that is indeed the creatures that Marlin and Dory almost got eaten by in Finding Nemo. Happy feeling gone. 8. Frilled shark. Known as the living fossil, the frilled shark is a special kind of shark that doesn't resemble many of the species of shark that live in the oceans today. Or more accurately, it does not have many of the standard features a shark is known for. It doesn't have a large dorsal fin. Instead, it has numerous fins on the side and bottom of its body. Its skin also looks very rugged and worn, which many have likened to certain types of eels. In fact, the frilled shark has been compared to an eel a lot because of its length and movement capabilities, which is appropriate that given that it's only about 6.6 feet long at max. Given its features, many have labeled the frilled shark as not just a living fossil, but as a primitive being given that it doesn't have certain things that modern sharks or even eels have to survive in these waters. To that extent, Many wonder how exactly the frilled shark hunts prey. The belief is that it curls its body and then lunges out, but due to it being rarely seen, that cannot be confirmed. If you're hoping to try and see one of these sharks yourself, you're going to need to be in the right place at the right time. You'll need to go to 5,000 feet below sea level in certain parts of the ocean like the Atlantic and Pacific, though some reports have it close to the surface in other areas, such as in Suruga Bay, Japan, where it's said to be only 660 feet below sea level at max. Despite this, the frilled shark is very rarely observed in the world, so there is still very much about the creature that is unknown. The shark also raises questions about what other living fossils are currently out in the oceans that haven't been found yet, though there are some we can say have been found. Number 7. Goblin shark. The goblin shark, also known as the vampire shark, is one of the most interesting things you'll find in places like the Mariana Trench. Why? Its age. Its species is said to have lived for millions of years. They're believed to be so old that, not unlike the frilled shark, they are referred to as living fossils. While most sharks are considered to be scary in one form or another, most agree that the goblin shark is terrifying. What's more, its scary reputation is earned because of a unique feature on it. That is because the elongated nose of the goblin shark is full of electromagnetic sensors. It can detect even the smallest discharge of electricity, such as in a prey's brain, yet that's not what makes it terrifying. When it does find food, it'll not only lock in on it, it'll extend its mouth from its body and chomp down on the foe, a feature that is not common with sharks or various other species on Earth. If you're familiar with the creature known as the xenomorph from the Alien franchise, you'll know what to expect from the goblin shark, and that makes it horrifying. On average, the goblin vampire shark is said to be around 10 feet long, but because of their rarity and the fact that the adults tend to live in deeper waters that humanity can't reach easily, it is possible that the goblin sharks are much bigger than we realize. So, with a large size, a scary mouth, and more, you can see why people are afraid of this shark. Before we continue, be sure to like the video and subscribe to the channel. That way you don't miss out on any of our weekly videos. 6. The fangtooth. You know you have to be scary on some level if you're going to have a name like fangtooth, and sure enough, this carnivorous fish that lives in the Mariana Trench lives up to its name. That's because this fish is truly not picky about what it wants to eat. If it sees something that it can eat, it'll go right after it and eat it without any second thought, which actually makes it a lot like the Megalodon, because that massive shark would also eat anything that moved. What might make them even scarier, though, is how they sense prey. As noted, in the depths of the Mariana Trench, there is no light from the sun or other significant sources that can light up the waters. Thus, creatures have to produce their own light via bioluminescence or rely on other senses to live, and that's what the fangtooth does. It has the ability to see prey via chemical reactions. It literally can detect the chemical reactions that happen within the body of another living creature and then close in on that creature to eat it. Disgusting. The only good news, if you will, is that unlike the two sharks we just talked about, the fangtooth is only 7 inches in length, but that's more than enough length to chomp down on a human limb and cause some serious damage. I'm just saying. Number 5. Dumbo octopus. The Dumbo octopus is not something you'd expect to find on a scary list because of its name, but it does live up to being more than meets the eye. This species of octopus is the deepest dwelling octopus in the world today that we know of. It's important to say that the Mariana Trench has not been explored fully at this time. As for the name of the creature, it has floppy ears on its body, which its discoverer likened to the Disney elephant Dumbo, who had a similar condition. The Dumbo octopus is one of the rarest of the species, and there's a lot we don't know about it, including the curiosity of its shape. For the Dumbo octopus doesn't look like any other octopus out there in regards to its short and stubby body. Its average length is barely a foot. But then one was found to be over 5 feet long, showing a great range of sizes. To protect themselves from predators, they can not only inflate their sizes, but also change colors to blend into their environment. But what's scariest about them is that when they decide to eat prey, they don't hold back or take things slow. They prefer to just eat their prey whole. 4. Barrel-eye fish. To live in the depths of the ocean, you need to have the literal ability to withstand just about everything the environment can throw at you. The barrel-eye fish did just that, evolving to be what it needed to be, mainly a fish that can see everything because its head is not fully there. This is a fish with a literal transparent head. Why is that? It's speculated that it allows the fish to catch light. If you're wondering why this is so important, you need to remember at about 3,280 feet, the natural reach of the sun's rays peter out. So anything below that point in the ocean is pure and absolute dark. So the ability to capture light in any form could be a godsend down there. Now, though, let's take a note of its literal barrel-shaped eyes. You'll be interested to know that the eyes are often pointed upwards. Why? It wants to be able to see predators that might be lurking above it. Here's another thing you need to know about the Mariana Trench. Because it's so deep in the ocean, the pressure is enormous, and the fish in the ocean are used to that pressure. One time, a scientist tried to take a barrel-eye fish to the surface. The fish didn't survive, as the lesser pressure of the water actually killed it. This is a reason why many species in the Mariana Trench aren't studied much. They don't get the opportunities to more often than not. Aside from its slightly terrifying appearance, the barrel-eye fish is a creature that is known to swallow prey whole when it finds them. Number 3. The deep-sea hatchetfish. There are many sea creatures from the past and in the present that have a very curious look that seems to have been born or evolved from the notion of looking like a tool. And in the Mariana Trench, one of those fish is known as the deep-sea hatchetfish. Because if you look at the body of this fish, you'll find that its shape honestly does look like that of a hatchet. There are over 40 species of the hatchetfish, and each of them have very shiny scales that often make them look metallic from the various angles that you see them. They are the smallest fish that we've talked about so far, as they're only 6 inches in length most times. But their trick to surviving, though, is what makes them special. Though they do live in the trench, they have also been known to be up higher up in the waters of the world, and thus do interact with the light at times. When they do, the light will bounce off of their metallic skin to cause illusions and reflections that will trick predators into staying away from them or missing them when they attack. 2. Ghost fish. In 2014, a new type of snailfish was found in the Mariana Trench. What's more, this special fish wasn't like most snailfish, as this one was found over 5 miles below sea level, where no fish like it had ever been found before. That's very unique. You might be wondering how this unique fish was found. You see, while humans can't go into the trench very easily, scientists have found ways to send cameras and such down there. During one such exploration, this snailfish was found. However, the camera kept going through the trench, so scientists are only able to see it for a few seconds at max. It was dubbed the ghost fish because it has a transparent appearance of sorts, and it's a big mystery. Snailfish are special organisms that are used to surviving in the deep waters of the world, but the ghostfish seems even more suited, which is why many are so fascinated by it. And compared to other snailfish, its body seems much different, which might be an evolution caused by living in the trench. Either way, many people want to catch a ghostfish to study it. Number 1. Deep-sea dragonfish. Sometimes to get food, you need to be clever. And when it comes to the deep-sea dragonfish, it is most definitely clever. Funnily enough, it's only 6 inches long. They're made to survive, though, and should not be joked about. This is a fish that has made many tricks to use to get food. For example, like many creatures in the trench, deep-sea dragonfish are bioluminescent. If you don't know that term, it means they can emit light within their body. For the deep-sea dragonfish, though, it glows pure red, and scientists are baffled as to why. Furthermore, the deep-sea dragonfish will use its bioluminescence and its red glowing ability to communicate with others like it or to camouflage with the surrounding environments, making it a tactical predator and a prey that's hard to catch. Now, let's talk hunting tactics. Not unlike certain other fish, the deep-sea dragonfish has a protrusion, and it'll use it to touch other fish. The fish will think they found something to eat, but the reverse is true. The dragonfish will lunge out with blinding speed and get its meal, then go back to hiding. Wash, rinse, repeat, and survive. Like I said, this fish is clever. Thanks for watching, everyone.